Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered perspective. So, I played this on PC, on Steam, and for the most part didn't have any kind of real technical issues. Now, I did play this with keyboard and mouse, which is probably unadvised, since these were mainly built on, PlayStation 2, so doing, controller probably would have been better. And sorry if my color's a little bit weird. Normally I would wear my jacket, but I'm using this kind of as a different kind of differentiator because of another review that I'm doing. But the same kind of still applies with this. This is kind of more of a funny kind of thing for that review, whereas this is more of a alright, this is definitely kind of like late 90s, early 2000s where we're going. So strange thing is, I actually preferred the first one over the second. I had kind of been introduced to this series through the internet, talking with certain kind of people, figuring out what kind of goes on. Then I'll check this out and see how this goes on. And I'm glad I did. I learned that the franchise isn't for me. Now, that's mainly in regards to what goes on story-wise, and mainly the presentation and execution of the story. Mainly in regards to all kinds of, time travel fuckery, and it's just okay. And this mainly gets into the bogging down of the second game. First game, we're introduced to Kain having taken over the world of Nosgoth. We're introduced to Raziel, one of the kind of favored sons. We see that every so often Kain would get some kind of new kind of mutation or whatnot within the vampire lineage, but Raziel kind of jumped over his ass and got wings. And he decided to rip the bones out of that motherfucker and toss him in a fucking pit. And then some other kind of weird voice is like, hey, you're gonna be my angel of death. Go and kill these motherfuckers. So essentially Assassin's Creed this kind of shit, as he's going for vengeance, trying to take down Kain and to take down his brothers. And the thing is, he's been in there for a while, so they've all kind of changed up and gone a little bit different. So it's okay, what's going to go on here? And I actually enjoyed it. I wish... there's probably going to be different kind of opinions on this. However, I tend to skew on this I was playing with a guide, and I'm glad I did, because otherwise I'd be going around in circles for fuck long, not knowing what's kind of going on and how to kind of get to places and to get certain kind of upgrades and whatnot. Because there's a difference between hand-holding and not knowing how the fuck to get to someplace and not knowing what you need to get to that fucking someplace. Okay? There's not there's a complete kind of codex or whatnot that most games can give you now, where you kind of understand where you're kind of going, how you're trying to order things, and it's give the people the kind of information they need. This will then sound a little bit strange coming of alright, this one didn't handhold enough, and then what the fuck kind of went on with the second one. So we get to that. But I understand Raziel's plight. It's just his execution is we mainly get a lot of his dialogue of him talking to himself. And it very much comes across as teenage edgelord bemoaning a lot of kind of stuff. I get to the point of alright, I get it. You're fucking with Kain. But the thing is, he's not really talking to a lot of people. There aren't a lot of NPCs to kind of do organic kind of lore drops of I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on here. Can you kind of illuminate? But the thing is, there are certain humans that are still alive, even though vampires are we partying, bitch. We partying, ho. We partying, bitch. We got this lock on, ho, hey. And everything's kind of going to shit. Kain was evidently this, guardian dude of, the balance, and the pillars are, completely and utterly fucked up. It's okay. Alright. I do like the progression system of it being pretty much like a Metroidvania, where you, get certain kind of things for your Soul Reaver, and it amps up, and then you get to a certain point where you can, shoot shit with it. It doesn't take away your health. I do like how in the beginning you do have trade-offs with it, but then you can power that fucker up, and you're I'm boss, bitch, and you just start, cracking ass wholesale. So, pretty much, the thing is, we got this, the Wraith Blade. Because we're the Soul Reaver, we need souls and shit for sustenance, so you, fight your kind of people, mainly kind of fledglings for each kind of your brother's kind of territories, and you need to take their souls to like replenish your health. And if you get your health knocked down, you go to the astral, spectral kind of realm, and then you got to watch yourself because you get like teleported to certain kind of stuff, and then you need to kind of like still get your health back up to teleport back into the physical realm. We get the Wraith Blade because we see Kain coming at us with the Soul Reaver, and it kind of like breaks at a certain kind of point. Like, oh, okay, let's see what's going on here. So it's mainly Quest of Vengeance, taking out all of them before we get to a certain point where it's revealed that the Seraphim pretty much did a crusade against the vampires, and that you and all of your brothers were actually the desecrated corpses of the Seraphim. And you're like, holy shit, okay. And you get some pretty decent boss battles in there. I would hesitate to call them gimmicky. They each have a certain kind of thing that you have to do. Like, it's a gimmick. But it's done in a way that's not completely and utterly annoying, where you have to just be like, oh, it's a stupid kind of gimmick where it's like, alright, fuck this shit. Like in the water, the fucker has pretty much evolved to utilize water, but haha, you can still get fucked up by the sun, bitch. You have to get one dude who's pretty much in the spectral plane into the physical one, and then you gotta chase his ass to a fucking flame place and let him get poof. It's like, okay, cool. And once we get into the Seraphim, like Raziel's like, what the fuck is going on here? And it just kind of gets him more and more into taking down Kain and everyone that's kind of going on there. It's just, oh god. Even though I'm like, alright, from the get-go, I'm kind of on Raziel's side. When we've got the execution of him just essentially just talking to himself and kind of just being like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. It's like, sweet Jesus. I kind of get it. I don't need this all the time. Like, less is more on this kind of front. It does give you the full force of his character where you're like, almost to the point of like, what the fuck? Just let Kain kill his ass. We do also have that one of the brothers is omitted because of time constraints. Let's see. We've got this elder god that pretty much is having him do this, and you're like, alright, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Let's see. That cathedral can suck my ass. The fucking Zephon. Oh god, that one blew. But overall, I had a pretty decent kind of time of going for it. Also looking into the kind of last human city was kind of interesting, but you don't really do much there. And of course we get to the Oracle's Cave with like Mobius the Time Streamer, who Kain killed, and getting into the Chronoplast, which is giving us kind of looks of what's kind of going on in the past and the future. It's like, alright, okay. And that Kain is trying to kind of like undo destiny and everything like that, because he's like, I've got all this knowledge and I can't do jack fucking shit. It's like, what the fuck? And then telling him, yeah, the Seraphim weren't noble crusaders. Fuck those assholes. Then you get your boss battle, which was a little bit annoying. That gimmick is like you have to hit Kain and get him onto each kind of level. It's easier when you're down on the ground to like run up to him and smack him, but then you have to like do this kind of bit where you have to like thunder chuck your Wraith Blades ball shit at him, just shooting the kind of thing. And then you're trying to run to him, and then he keeps like teleporting back and forth because of how fast he teleports. It's like, fuck you, man. Other than the annoyance, it's not completely hard. It's just try to figure out how to get up to him fast enough to smack his ass to pretty much finish the game. But you are kind of taught a little bit about it as you fight him initially, even though I got like thunder fucked at the get-go. I'm like, I can dodge this. And the thing is, I'm thinking of this as more modern dodging of like, oh yeah, and then the fucker just homes into my ass and just, I'm like, I was at least 6 inches to the left, but evidently it's close enough for pube work. But once I kind of learned that kind of stuff, I was like, alright, you fucker. I just figured out how long it took him to charge and like cracked his ass in that, in the pillar room. But now you get him kind of like beat down. Let's see here. and then you follow him through a time portal, ignoring warnings from the Elder God, emerging from the time slip, being greeted by Mobius. Comments on the nature of time and the ability to plunge the fate of planets into chaos, leading into Soul Reaver 2. So, for the most part, I would probably recommend Soul Reaver 1. It's an interesting one, and even though it's not one of like my top games, I'm glad I played it because it's built along the game design lines of what I am used to. What I mean is, over the last couple of years, well, not even just the last couple of years, pretty much decades at this point, game design has been changed to the point of, we had this golden sweet spot where like games were made to be fun and they enjoyed success. Then you get pretty much everyone wanting kind of infinite returns and putting gambling, gotcha, fuckery, microtransaction shit, and then it's not about you liking it, understanding it, having a good time with it, and paying a decent price for it. It is how much can they extract from you, data, money, all time, all this kind of shit. It's really cool to go and look into how old school kind of game design is, and I hate to kind of say that it's old school game design. There are certain ones nowadays that are putting that front and center. It's just you have to dig between all the lines of day one patches, day one updates, having to wait almost a year for a game to be in a playable state of like, oh, okay, now you're worth my money. And that's down to wanting to be shipped as fast as possible. There are outliers. There are different companies like Capcom being able to create a new IP in Pragmata and doing Resident Evil. So, yeah, they're out there. I'm not saying that it's all complete doom and gloom, but the whole thing is, it's like, oh, these people that just want to extract every amount, almost like the vampires and shit, and the Elder Gods, as we see in this series, and it's just kind of nice. I mean, understanding and figuring out how to do the combat, and then getting to the point where it's kind of Metroid-like, where you get your abilities, level up your stuff, get more health. I really didn't use the one kind of, what were they? The glyph kind of things? I only used it about once or twice when the guy told me, hey, you should probably do it on this thing. It's like, okay. Other than that, I didn't fucking use it worth a shit. It's like, I'll just keep going. I never got completely and utterly frustrated on what was going on in it. But as an older game, and also trying to see, I mainly played with the newer kind of graphics, and I like that that style is still reminiscent enough because I switched to the old and I'm like, holy fucking shit. So if you're into looking at the older kind of games, this is a decent kind of representation of that. However, we then flip to the other side of the coin with Soul Reaver 2. This, I almost didn't need a guide whatsoever with this game. There is a difference between I have no idea where I'm going, and this is linear as shit that I would almost call it on rails. There's, like, in the other one, you did exploration and trying to figure out what's kind of going on. I don't know how the development cycle worked out for this, but holy fucking shit. I do not like Soul Reaver 2 compared to Soul Reaver 1. Because, gameplay-wise, I don't like the combat. You have to usually kind of find weapons and stuff to utilize more, and just, it's basic. I usually just spam the light attack button when I could to kind of do shit, and I didn't really like utilizing the Wraith Blade, except in any kind of platforming scenario where that was a little bit more interesting. Because instead of getting it to a point where it doesn't take your health away, you still have it up, and the thing is, once you kill things, you kill a thing and it amps up the blade, and once you kill enough things, it pretty much one-shots shit. However, you then can't, or at least what I couldn't figure out, was trying to get the souls out of it as well. And I'm like, alright, so I've got no health, but I can, like, one-shot a motherfucker. Okay, cool, fine. I don't really like the trade-off. I thought it was better done in the first one. Here, I almost didn't need the guide. I only did it just in case I would miss something, and that just really wasn't even an option to be able to be to have happen. Like, the person who did the guide, you did awesome. There's no problems there. It's just this game is like, you have to go here. You have to go here and fuck the save system. Alright? First game, you could save anywhere, and your save state would pretty much be saved. And when you got back into there, you could usually warp to a certain kind of place. It wouldn't save you exactly where you were at, but you would be in the save state of, like, say you got a health power-up. And you couldn't finish it out, so you saved out, and you got back in, you still have that health power-up. That got chunked, and you can keep going on, you can keep exploring. You got your warp gates that you can warp around here. Here, you had to actually find places to save. And it really changes how you can work and play throughout a session, because you don't know potentially where you're going to save unless you look at a guide and you're like, oh, okay, these are where the save pillars are and what that kind of works out to. And, oh my god, the story just gets convoluted to like a fucking degree. You are time jumping across different kind of places and times here, and it's not... It's like they needed to push this out as fast as possible, and just, it's exposition dumps. It's like, holy fucking shit. I mean, Raziel still talks to himself, and still kind of come across as, like, emo edgelord motherfucker, but he does kind of get a little bit better of, like, trying to figure out what's kind of going on, and what kind of paradoxes are happening, because he's now in the past, and we see the pillars getting corrupted and everything like that, and we then try and figure out, we get certain kind of Wraithblade upgrades. We see that Kain is attempting to be like, alright, we got a coin that can do heads, tails, I'm trying to find the third one, where it's landed on the edge. It's like, okay, what are you attempting to accomplish here? Fucking over Mobius, fucking over the Elder God, because we learned that the Elder God is pretty much pulling the strings of Mobius and these other kind of people, and saying that he's like the wheel or whatnot, about souls, and that the vampires are kind of fucking with that kind of shit. However, we don't know, and then we get introduced to the precursors of the vampires and the Hilden. And it's like, alright, what the fuck? Like, evidently these pillars were erected to keep the Hilden in whatever fucking space that the vampires, which were pretty much angels, they had the wings. I don't know if Kain pretty much ripped them off because of that, but however, we don't know if that kind of storyline was pretty much being written at the time of Soul Reaver 1, so I'm effectively more treating it as a retcon at that point, because we see that Raziel is like this like messiah vampire kind of dude, talking to Janos Audrin, who has all the wings and everything like that, because in retaliation for doing this, they got turned into vampires with bloodlust and everything, and the vampires that we're usually used to are not the same as what Janos is. He's like, yeah, I'm kind of cool and chill, man. What the fuck's kind of going on with you guys? And Raziel's like, ooh, this dude's kind of awesome. But then he also gets killed by his Seraphan counterpart. His actual, like, because Raziel himself is the final boss in this game, which is like, alright, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Kain kind of helping him not get completely sucked into, like, Soul Reaver Wraithblade kind of territory. It's like, what the fuck's going on here? It's my biggest kind of issue with this game, not completely in regards to, like, I don't hate the plot. I hate how the plot is presented. Because, yes, we have cutscenes and everything, but it's just presented of, like, regurgitating all of this information into such a point of, like, what the fuck's kind of going on here? Like, you get an idea of, like, alright, time travel's involved, certain weird shit's going on, but it's just like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you just have the one person, like Wardor, or Janos, or Mobius, or whatnot. Mobius is a kind of bad example, because he's at least trying to do machinations of like, I'm gonna fuck you up, keep him locked up in here while I do some shit. It's like, alright, cool, but just burping out the plot and just puking it on you, showing sometimes paintings of what's kind of going on, but it's like, what? Why? Yeah, Kain's evidently supposed to be destined to die at Raziel's hands, and implores Raziel to thwart fate and instead facilitate his quest to restore the pillars. Let's see. So he tries to pretty much exercise his free will. Now, I do like the exploration of free will versus fate and destiny. I've come to be that, like, fate and destiny can go get fucked and eat shit. And I'm like, alright, cool, with Raziel of going with this kind of free will. However, it's only shown up in certain kind of instances, mainly also because of what's going on with him. But this makes sense because everybody else is pretty much partial to the whole kind of, not partial, but being affected by, like, the fate and destiny, and Raziel is kind of a unique case on that front. Let's see. One race created the pillars, but the enemy race retaliated with a curse which transformed the pillars' architects into their first vampires. If he had sacrificed himself, vampires would have become extinct. But Raziel spares Kain, and the thing is, Yano said, like, yeah, the Pillar Guardians should have been vampires. Like, it's gone kind of nutty, and the Seraphim have gone crazy, tried to kill all the vampires, which is really kind of slitting their own throats. And of course, Mobius sends him to the wrong time, so you have to deal with that kind of bullshit. But see, the thing is, Raziel wasn't going to pick up the Soul Reaver that Janos offered him, because he was kind of repulsed by it, but then of course his self and the rest of the his Seraphim brothers pop up. They kill Janos, but take his heart, which is important because that could be utilized to revive him. So he goes in there and kicks all kinds of ass. But you do pick up the Soul Reaver, and you don't have to heal anymore. So you're just, like, cracking through. It's just going through the combat. The combat just really wasn't that engaging for me. I mean, you can do certain kind of things, but it was only towards the end when I got the Soul Reaver and didn't need to, like, heal myself. That was kind of a little bit more fun. However, the bosses were then kind of more bullet spongy. And I say bullet spongy because you kind of get the idea. There weren't any really kind of health indicators, and you had to just smack the fucking shit out of them and be like, is this gonna kill you? 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 And that slice killed you. Okay, cool. On to the next one. For the most part, you had to do, like, 2-on-1, which really was fine because they gave you the I'm not dead, motherfucker sword, and then you just kind of crack on, and it just took longer. And it only took longer because of, like, what was going on more than anything else, of, like, how it's designed. It's like, alright. Let's see. He himself has always been the ravenous spirit inside the Reaver, and therefore is fated to be stuck in a time loop. The sword shattered against him in Soul Reaver because it was unable to consume itself. As Reaver begins to pull Raziel's soul in the blade, Kain steps in at the last instant and stops the parasitic binding, a gesture both of gratitude for Raziel sparing him earlier, and a defiance against fate. This act destroys the inevitability of the timeline, creating the most profound historical shift in Nosgoth, and drastically altering the destiny that Mobius and the Elder God had engineered. Of course, this then enables the Hilden return and jeopardizes his ambition to restore the pillars. Let's see. And warning to not revive Janos Audron, Raziel slips back into the spirit realm and realizes that the Wraith Blade is still bound to him, and despairingly laments that his destiny has not been changed but merely postponed. It's like, oh, okay. I get the pontificating, the ruminating on it. It's just, it feels like attempting to be kind of Shakespearean without understanding what you need to do to make that come off well enough. It was almost like this kind of game would have worked a little bit better if it had been made later in, like, console generations, maybe around the PlayStation 3 era, where you could do a little bit more with the scenes, have a little bit more movement and stuff, because they do move during the cutscenes, but it's just like saying all this kind of stuff and just being like, alright, cool. It's not really engaging for it, because you can, like, at least move around a little bit, show off a certain kind of thing, maybe go to a certain kind of flashback, and not for, like, any kind of ADHD kind of thing, but just to keep it a little bit more interesting, rather than some person puking out giant kind of nouns at you. It's like, that's supposed to be important. It's like, alright, fine. So if you're really into Soul Reaver, I think Soul Reaver 2 would still work on you. It's just down to its game design and its execution on how it showcases the story that's kind of the issue for me. And that's coming from someone who would have been fine with the linear experience. It's just how its execution of, like, you can just, like, dodge combat. Now, not in all instances when you have to fight the demons, which are fucking annoying as shit. Like, fighting people sometimes takes a little bit because you try and get the weapon that you can utilize that works out well enough for your kind of combat style. But those demons, it's like, oh, god damn it. You usually just gotta say, fuck it, Wraithblade the motherfucker, and just be like, because I don't want to deal with you for, like, 5 fucking minutes, and maybe lose all of my fucking health. Instead, I'm gonna fucking just, like, tank your ass if I can, and just make sure that I can get through this faster. And they sometimes weirdly talk to you as well, like, alright, you're trying to make it seem like these the Hilding demon motherfuckers know who he's at, but, like, we don't get anyone behind the scenes, which I don't think was really kind of thought of at this point. It's just random demons saying random shit to Raziel. It's like, okay. It doesn't feel like there's the overarching kind of motherfucker, like the Elder God. The Elder God's like, fuck you, Shere Khan, motherfucker, as shit's kind of going down. But again, we then get, what was it, Defiance? Where am I at? Show me the next one. Legacy of Kain Defiance. Sweet Jesus. Oh, Blood Omen 2 and Legacy of Kain Defiance. In 2002 and 2003. Man, this one was 2001. But I do like that this package exists to ascertain what kind of interest there is. I think these are the best way to play it at the moment. I didn't have any real technical issues. It was just down to how the story was kind of going on for 2. I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I don't hate the franchise, and I want people who are into it and interested in it to get these games so that way they have them in a better playable state for modern tech, and just to hopefully get more games in the series. Because I do think that there needs to be more franchises around. Because just because I don't like a franchise or into what they're kind of doing doesn't mean that they shouldn't exist. The biggest kind of issue that we have now is that the ungodly amount of money that is being pumped into pretty much the executives, not even really in the developers, and wanting an ungodly amount of return. If you think that this franchise, which is about fate and destiny and vampires and doing crazy ass shit, is going to attract like $500 million worth of sales, you are simultaneously huffing mushrooms, crack, and weed out your own ass while trying to sing Yankee Doodle Dandy out your ear holes in French that was from a 30-second multiverse. I mean, you could potentially get to that number if you had each game pegged at like $1,000 each, and or you'd have to have it done to like $1 million each or whatnot. It's not that there aren't fans of the franchise, but you have to have expectations reasonably. Not every game should be held to the standard of selling 10 million copies off the get-go, or getting lifetime sales of 100 million. Fuck that noise. Eat my ass with a blade of grass. Have a very Merry Christmas. Make sure you know what you've got and do it accordingly. I do like that we have this, that they did the remaster for Legacy of Kain Defiance, that they're playing around with the franchise. Just don't say it's like, oh, it only sold like a couple thousand copies and be pissed off at that. This franchise has been dormant for decades, man. Like, at least. And you think you're gonna pop $1 million off the get-go? People lapsed fans and new fans had to have time to discover shit. You can't be like, it's day one, and it's only sold 11,000 copies. You're done, motherfucker. Sometimes motherfuckers don't learn that it's out until like a week, a month. Sometimes you're like, oh fuck, that came out. Because nobody fucking talked about it. Ugh. But that's why also I want to talk about this. Not just to get my feelings out about it, but to have people know that it's there. And if they're interested and don't agree with me, to support the motherfucking shit out of it. Okay? Just, again, I love to reiterate. If you love something and it's not like going to immediately come and kill me or something. Just like come out of nowhere. Haha, motherfucker. I don't give a shit. I want it to be good so that way it works for you and you have that fun and enjoyment. Like, yeah, have that. There should be a lot of franchises and a lot of IPs and just experimenting and doing weird shit. That's what we had during the kind of golden age of stuff. We then had franchises expanding into weird shit. Halo, doing ODST as a downloadable content. Halo Wars as an RTS. It's like, yeah? What else can we get here? Oh, Microsoft mismanaging the franchise. Yeah. But I loved those examples because it's like expanding, trying to track what kind of goes on. Because sometimes if you want to mess with certain kind of stuff, you can just keep the world and go into a different genre. That's the great thing about games. You can make it do whatever you want. You want to do a fucking visual novel where Raziel is fucking risen up some fucking, I don't know, Vampire Academy thing? Where it's like, yeah. Or like a Soul Reaver Academy thing. Go for it. See how it works. See how the understanding of what that works into, tying into the story and all that. Fucking do some weird shit with it. Because we just... Franchise burnout pretty much comes into the effect of when you're pumping out shit and you just want the same return with the lowest thing and just keep pushing the minimal viable product. That's pretty much what happened with EA and Activision, with Battlefield and Call of Duty. Because sometimes you'd have some interesting stuff, and Call of Duty was kind of interesting for a while because it would play around with different time periods. World War II, it did pretty well, and then we got Modern Warfare. We got Black Ops. We got the future ones. Did they all work out? No, but they're like fucking putting it into everything and just going hambo-jambo. Assassin's Creed was interesting. We also got some different kind of things put into there, but they had to put it out one after another and just tank that fucking shit. So, the main thing here is you probably would get this as a bundle. I would more recommend the first one because I like how the story and everything is flows and has its execution. I like the gameplay elements and how everything kind of works out and how the combat works out. I'm not really a fan of the combat and actually how linear it is in the second one, mainly because I really didn't get that grabbed by the story, even though it's got stuff of ruminating on fate and destiny and all that I like. I was getting a little bit worn thin on Raziel's kind of shtick of what they were doing with them, where it just... He kind of gets stuck in that kind of teenage loop until he starts kind of exploring more of what he can do with being more of a free will kind of an agent and what's kind of going on, and then Kain kind of popping up at the end and everything kind of going on with that. It's more like Mobius is fucking with us and like, can we deal with this motherfucker? And it's like, not yet. So, those are my opinions on the games. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.